Godspeed in the CW Flash show was reoccurring for 3 seasons as a side villain, and in 7, he became the main villain for a whole graphic novel. And I always want to discuss my opinions on the character and what I really think overall of the stories he's had over those 3 years, because I never did that. Which I don't think I've ever actually talked about even in season 7 videos when Godspeed was the main villain. Also, this was suggested by one of you who watched my videos, so thank you for suggesting it. Whoever suggested it, you know who you are. I don't know if you want to be named or not, that's why I'm not naming you. But thank you for suggesting it, and we're gonna jump right into the video. Was Godspeed a good villain? Yes and no. And I say yes and no because he appeared 3 different times in 3 different seasons, playing major different roles. In season 5, he first appeared as part of Nora's origin story, and it led to her learning how to phase through Thawne, and it was a really cool sequence of Thawne teaching Nora how to phase. But in that episode, Godspeed really, he was cool, but as an introduction, it would have been nicer if it was with Barry as a Flash in present day than the future. But it kind of worked, although it didn't really lead to anything at all, besides him being mentioned in 601, which is when he appeared after. And, that was when he and Barry really fought, at least for the first time on screen. Because then we learned that there were 4 other Godspeeds that Barry's fought in between season 5 and season 6. And then season 6, episode 18, Godspeed came back again, and it was actually for story reasons. And then, all those clones died, I think it was, and he got faster. And then he died or something, but then it wasn't the real Godspeed, and it was a long story, and it's in 7, and he was the main villain for an arc. That arc, I feel like, was really good, but really bad. It started off great. Episode 15 and 16 of season 7 were amazing. I think we can all agree on that. Episode 17 kind of dipped, but to me, it was still really good. And 718, I really did enjoy. I know the Speedster Sword fight, which people deem as still lightsaber fight, between Barry, Thawne, and Godspeed, does get a lot of hate. I think it's one of the best fights of the show. The only thing I would have changed in that fight was really more speedster movements, but I think it worked for Godspeed being the villain. I mean, he is the god of speed. I mean, he can do all these things with his powers. I mean, let's have a sword fight. I mean, it was kind of cool, and also worked at the time because of COVID precautions. They couldn't do much. It was definitely better than a pep talk, which we had most of season 7. But in that regard, I think he was an okay villain. I wouldn't say he was good. I wouldn't say he was bad. I think he did get screwed over in season 7, and then he comes back in season 9, episode 13, and he's something else. But before 913, I would have said that he's an okay villain. After 913, yeah, no. he's a bad villain. But in season 7, I think he was an okay villain. In season 5, he was just okay. And in season 6, when he appeared those 2 times, in 601 and 618, I feel like that was the only time he was really a good villain. I don't know if it's because he wasn't the main villain, but I feel like him being a side villain kind of worked in Eric's favor when they brought him back in season 7 as the main villain of one of the graphic novels, because we knew a lot about him already, and there was setup. So it really was a cool thing to look back on, and it should have been done different, which I will discuss in a minute. But yeah, okay villain. Not great, not bad, but okay. What should have been different? In my opinion, Godspeed should have either been a full season-long villain of season 6, or have a different finale for season 7. Now, let me explain why I say that. Let's say Godspeed was the full villain of season 6, right? We don't have Bloodwork. Bloodwork's season 7, right? We still do him, but he's in season 7. I feel like if we did that in season 6, or at least in the back half, just get rid of Ava. Let's, we keep Bloodwork, but in the back half, it's Godspeed, not Ava McCulloch. And it was Godspeed as the main villain for all those episodes. It would have worked better because Barry's speed was being drained. Anyways, because the Speed Force was dying. I feel like if they did Godspeed then, which, they did it for one episode, but it would have been so much cooler if it had worked out to where Barry is losing his speed day by day, minute by minute, and then it would lead to like Barry getting his speed back, and it could have led to like a fight like 7:15, maybe like 7:18 with the sword fight, but with more speedster movements. They did it in season 6, it probably would have saved the season in back half. But, you know, I feel like that's really all that could have been done different here. Maybe include more clones that, you know, were actually, like, not annoying. I mean, his appearance in season 6 really wasn't much of anything besides for plot. I mean, that's really all it was. And in season 7, I mean, you know, they could introduce Bart in season 7 still and just say, like, oh, he fought Godspeed before, and maybe Godspeed came back for, like, one episode, and that's when Bart was back for whatever reason. Like, they could have done that then and there. So, I definitely think making him a full season, or at least a full story villain, like in the back half of season 6, would have really, really worked better in Eric's favor for the character. And it also would have done wonders for Barry, who's again losing his speed. It would have been a much more interesting villain than Ava was. Which, I mean, she did kind of work because Barry's speed was being taken away. But, I mean, to have a speedster villain during that point in time would have been so cool to get. And so interesting to have happened to Barry at that point in time. Because obviously, you know, he's losing his speed. He needs a speed to fight speedster. And in 6:18, it really did kind of show that Barry almost kind of died several times. So it would have been really cool to have that dragged out throughout season 6 for the whole story. But, you know, we didn't get that, depressingly. Was Godspeed too dragged out? I think in some regard, yes. Because he was in 3 different seasons, and season 5 he was only in 1 time, and then season 6 twice, and in season 7 he had a whole arc. Like I said earlier, if that arc had happened in season 6 and it was more flushed out, it probably would have been like one of the best villains of the show, if it had been done correctly, obviously. But I do feel like in some regard he was dragged out, but not like you know, like Ava was, or like DeVoe and Cicada were. I feel like he was as dragged out as Savitar was in some regard, and as well as you know, Deathstorm was too. Like those Savitars really dragged out, I feel like. But Deathstorm was dragged out by like 1 episode, and it always was a great arc. Godspeed really did get dragged out just by season numbers. Because like now, if like he'd appear in season 5 and it was with Barry, or you know, like it had been a purpose of the story, great. If you know, in season 6, maybe he appeared in like 2 episodes instead of 1, and there was more fighting and more speedster fights happening, or Barry being tossed on his ass because his speed is dying. That would have been amazing to get. And maybe if he appeared earlier in season 7, I feel like maybe it would have been played out better, and it would have been like it was dragged out. But waiting 3 whole seasons to get him as a big bad was ridiculous, and I think it really should have been played out differently. But that's my opinion, obviously. But I don't think that is the case, where it just played out that way. It sucks that it played out that way, but it did. And we got what we got, and that's the villain. So yeah, thank you guys for watching the video. Let me know in the comments down below your opinions of Godspeed. Do you like the villain? Do you not like him? Why? For both reasons, if you do. And stay safe, have a good day, have a good night, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.